At this point, I'm sure you've seen videos of the protests, thousands upon thousands of people in the streets all across the country, all across the world. And I'm sure you've seen videos of the rioting, looting, defacing property and such as well. It wasn't that long ago that Facebook was banning events that violate the social distancing orders, and every health expert on the planet was telling you that it's completely irrational and that you shouldn't even play tennis with more than 2 people.
Every player, unless they're from the same household, has to bring their own tennis balls so that you don't touch other people's tennis balls with your hands. You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them.
So what changed? Well, the health experts actually support it now. As public health advocates, we do not condemn these gatherings as risky for COVID-19 transmission. This should not be confused with a permissive stance on all gatherings, particularly protests against stay-at-home orders. So they don't consider it a health risk to protest for what they want to protest for, but if you want to protest against their lockdowns, that's a health risk. Wait, this can't be real, right? Well, no, for you, social gatherings outdoors can be about 12 people, they've decided, but protests could be 100 people. Even though it's thousands upon thousands of them and they're not saying anything. This has to be a joke, right? This has to be some sort of parody. Well, let's read Jennifer Nuzzo. She says, "We should always evaluate the risks and benefits of efforts to control the virus. In this moment, the public health risks of not protesting to demand an end to systemic racism greatly exceed the harms of the virus." Jennifer's not just nobody. She's an American epidemiologist, an associate professor in the Department of Environmental Health and the Department of Epidemiology at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and a senior scholar at the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. Are you following me? Gatherings, protests, and going back to all work normally is not acceptable unless you're protesting what they want you to protest. I think this comic strip nails it, made by Jim Bob, said, "If you protest the lockdown, you hate old people." We heard that for months. And those same people now say, if you don't protest, you hate black people. If that wasn't enough, here's Dr. Tom Frieden, an ex-director at the CDC. He said the threat to COVID control from protesting outside is tiny compared to the threat to COVID control created when governments act in ways that lose community trust. So when the government loses community trust because they're destroying tens of millions of jobs, small businesses, making you stay at home, risking your health by not allowing you to go to gym, have your routine, get outside and do the normal stuff you do, that's not a health risk whatsoever. That type of loss of public trust doesn't matter to these people, only these new protests. In their very scientific studies, they found out that these protests, however, the risk of not doing it outweighs the risk of COVID lockdowns. If you weren't already fed up enough with these hypocrites, in the last 2 weeks this went unnoticed because they were blasting the protests on all mass media, but ABC found out that they looked at all 21 states that eased restrictions May 4th or earlier, and they found no major increase in hospitalizations, deaths, or percentage of people testing positive for them. So their data finally figured out that easing restrictions didn't lead to this over-hospitalization crisis that they said it would have, and was the justification for the shutdown in the first place. We've known this for months. We've been talking about it on my channel, showing facts, showing data, showing statistics, but nobody seemed to care. They just destroyed the economy, kept people inside, and banned and censored anybody who spoke out about it accurately. So when they lie about it, it's okay. When you tell the truth about it, it's wrong. Until they tell the truth about it 2 months later and then lie about something else, then it's okay. If that wasn't disgusting enough, the World Health Organization now says that asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is very rare, which is the exact opposite of what health experts, the television, and the people who lead our country were telling us as justification to extend the lockdown for 50 to 30 to 60 days and just decide how to run your life and try to destroy you if you question them. Just in making this video, it looks like the World Health Organization changed their opinion again and said they didn't know what they were talking about, and Dr. Fauci said they didn't know what they were talking about. If you haven't noticed, the coronavirus headlines be like, "The World Health Organization just found out that what they told you 2 months ago is wrong, but you still shouldn't ease restrictions because they're not certain about anything they say, but you should listen to them because they're the unquestionable authority," is pretty much what the media says. Despite all the protests and chaos, recently New York City had its first day with no confirmed coronavirus deaths. I'd love to see the death rate of other viruses, other diseases, alcohol use, avoidable diabetes and heart disease from obesity. Pretty much anything on the planet, I'm guessing in New York City, kills a couple people a day, but let's keep the stickers on the ground and make sure people stand 6 feet apart. We'll put glass walls in front of everything and plastic barriers. Let's just make workers breathe their recycled air, I don't know, till 2022, right? I mean, if the World Health Health Organization says it, and Johns Hopkins professors, epidemiologists, who are just so honest and so accurate that you're not allowed to protest the lockdown orders, but you're allowed to fill the streets by the thousands, because that's a bigger health risk according to their very non-political and scientific research. If the hypocrisy, delusion, and disgusting partisan politics disguised as science didn't tick you off enough, The Lancet has made one of their biggest retractions in modern history. What retraction was that? Well, they halted their global trials on hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19 because they had fears of increased deaths, and they were telling everybody that it was extremely risky. It's been retracted because The Guardian did an investigation and found inconsistencies in the data. The journal's editor, Richard Horton, said he was appalled by the developments. This is a shocking example of research misconduct in the middle of a global health emergency, he told The Guardian. So you're telling me they could lie about data and statistics to push a political or scientific agenda against you, against the people, against public health? It's almost like you could lie with statistics, which all of these bureaucrats and all of these billionaires and all of these health experts who are driving your public policy already know and tried to show you and tell you to read how to lie with statistics and manipulate data for your advantage. It's all there. And I'd made a video months ago telling you the same people that had a big stake financially in other cures for the virus were also funding certain hydroxychloroquine trials. So I'm not surprised that Lancet made a mistake, just like I'm not surprised that other people with other financial interests were not looking for a solution in hydroxychloroquine. Especially when President Trump was touting it, it became a political issue. And these people who hate Trump and these political and scientific hacks have no integrity, no honesty, no accuracy. They will lie, cheat, steal, do anything under the sun to defy the president or to defy a conservative mindset in this country, including apparently lying about trials of a drug that could save thousands of lives potentially, listen to a medical advisor, and be wrong about virtually every step of the way to justify this lockdown and what is an economic assault on the Western world. But don't worry guys, these protests, riots, looting, vandalization, and totally organic events are endorsed by every single major corporation on the planet pretty much. Some of the world's least genuine politicians on both sides of the political spectrum, from Mitt Romney to Barack Obama to George Bush. Heck, it almost seems like both wings of politics are part of the same bird. And celebrities are even bailing out protesters. Well, considering all the protests aren't just protests, some of them are, but a lot of them aren't, I wonder if they're bailing out some of the people that killed Black Americans in the riots. I guess Black lives only matter when it can be used for a political and racial agenda for the Democratic Party to push people to vote for them. Look at these faces. Will these deaths be honored for 3 months or even a day or even honestly a minute or a second by this crew? How about these deaths? 18 murders in 24 hours in Chicago. It's the most violent day in the last 60 years. But this is part and parcel that these people never talk about. I mean, don't look at the crime statistics. Don't look at literal demographics and percentages of what really happens and how many people really die, because they'll call it hate speech and try to destroy your life. And make sure that they get to scream for 2 years about 0.01% of the deaths and ignore 99.99% of Black lives. But don't worry guys, there's no way that this could be political at all. I mean, every single health expert that told you the opposite 2 months ago are now flip-flopping on this. Every corporation, all of the same celebrities that told you to stay in home and that you couldn't gather in 4, 5, 6 people. Just ignore that and listen to what the television says, because I'm sure they would never mislead you. Here's the vandalization of the 54th Regiment Memorial in Massachusetts, which makes a lot of sense since the 54th Regiment was a Black regiment, but they don't care. I mean, they'll destroy a Winston Churchill statue, tear this down, tear that down. I mean, that's not terrorizing the country and the world at all, destroying history. If MSNBC and LeBron James doesn't report on it, I mean, did it even happen? Seth Rogen, Chrissy Teigen, and Justin Timberlake are bailing people out of jail, so it's fine, don't worry about it. And what really annoys me about these people, besides everything, since all they do is lie, brainwash people with mass media, use celebrity puppets to lie to people every single day and tell a lie so many places that people actually believe it's true, destroy our country from within, lie to the world, fill kids with fear and propaganda on a daily basis. Besides all that annoys me, they want to tear down statues and deface property from hundreds of years ago to alter and distort history, but they don't even accept their own history, which is eerily similar to today. They always call Trump and Republicans KKK members, but factually, in history, the Ku Klux Klan was Southern resistance to the Republican Party's Reconstruction-era policies aimed at establishing political and economic equality for Blacks. The members of the KKK waged an underground campaign of intimidation and violence directed at white and black Republican leaders. If you'll notice, it says it was extended into almost every southern state by 1870. What else happened in 1870? That was the first black senator, which was a Republican, in 1870. The first black Democrat senator was not until 1993. Guys, so they don't even embrace their own history, and because they have mass media and most celebrities on their side, they're allowed to lie, distort history, destroy property, destroy your city, destroy their own cities. If you want to be honest, the George Floyd death was in Minneapolis. It's a Democrat city with a Democrat mayor, with a Democrat attorney general. They're destroying Democrat cities with Democrat leadership. But what do the Democrats do? They politicize this and tell you, go vote for more Democrats. That's the solution, despite, I don't know, all reality, logic, reason, common sense, everything that's happening. I mean, just do the opposite of what's right because they told you to do it. And if you think the Democratic Party and the KKK was in the past, this is the current sitting governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam. In his yearbook, a picture of a KKK blackface costume. Don't worry, it was probably just Halloween and he was role-playing the party that he would soon serve. If this was a Republican, he would have been gone the second that this surfaced. Everybody would have condemned him in the Republican Party and they would have found a new leader. But because it's the Democratic Party, because it's their present, because it's their past, because they still use the same intimidation tactics on black Republicans and Republicans who work with them, no one cares about it, no one talks about it. There was virtually no outrage. Every mainstream media covered up for it. LeBron James and Colin Kaepernick said virtually nothing, and people just moved on because this is what Democrats have done for the last 200 years. Yes, this is a sitting Democrat. Black Lives Matter said nothing about it. Black Lives Matter said nothing about these lies. Black Lives Matter said nothing about these lies. Black Lives Matter says nothing all year about 99.99% of black people that die when they don't have to die from preventable illness, death, health relations, and murder, which statistically, if you look at it, is not mostly coming from police. It's not mostly coming from conservatives and white people. It's mostly black on black crime. That's just a fact. But you can't say that or they'll freak out because they literally don't care about a majority of black lives. They care about the Democratic Party politics. They care about socialism and communism. They care about lying. They care about covering up for people who are vandalizing, looting, robbing, and killing people of their own race. The whole thing is a total deception. And posting a black square because you're a follower and a herd mentality sheep is in no way, shape, or form going to help anybody except pat yourself on the back and maybe stop yourself from getting hurt, losing your job, or getting lied about by the mob. And these are the same mob tactics they did when they founded the KKK to pressure the Republican Party and black people who worked with them. And if this story couldn't get any crazier, Breitbart reported that George Floyd's family asked United Nations to disarm the police in the US. They're working or talking to the United Nations, aka the World Health Organization, that just helped use false data, false understanding, and false predictions to justify the shutdown of Europe and the United States for 3-4 months now, where they hypocritically say that you don't have to shut down if you're protesting for their causes, but if you're not, you do have to shut down. The United Nations, could this be true? They reported on it because it's in NBC. George Floyd's family appeals to UN, the United Nations, for support for police reform. George Floyd's family and his legal team released on Monday a letter they sent to the United Nations requesting recommendations for police reform in the United States. I mean, could it be more obvious? Do I have to say it? Do I even have to go there? Am I allowed to go there? Or am I allowed to say it? Do I have free speech? Am I allowed to say the truth? Or am I only allowed to lie with everybody else now? Am I only allowed to carry water for communists and snakes and the world's worst political leaders that we've seen in 3 decades, whether it be George Bush and Colin Powell, who of course are going to support Joe Biden after they lied us into Iraq and God knows how many millions of lives they've ruined, or Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who are obviously going to support Joe Biden, who funded rebels in Syria, who turned it into a war zone, who funded people in Libya, who killed Muammar Gaddafi, the leader, which resulted in slavery and organ harvesting. But I know you guys don't care about that. I mean, why would Black Lives Matter or Democrats care about slavery, organ harvesting, and millions of people dying and getting displaced, causing a refugee crisis? I mean, that's not what they do. They don't care about the world's worst oppression. They go to the world's best places and try to subvert our entire culture into a culture that does exactly what their leaders and the politicians they vote for do all across the country. God bless you guys. God bless your family. I appreciate you watching this video. Let me know your comments in the comment section. They're trying to intimidate you, kick you out of your job, position, kick you out of the media, entertainment culture, whatever company you're at, pressure you into agreeing with their politics, their policies, and their phony fake activism, which has nothing to do with saving lives and everything to do with funneling the herd mentality, followers in this country, and children, and impressionable youth, to supporting their ever-expanding, ever-delusional politics that are just sliding off the realms of what is even remotely common sense, and destroy anybody who disagrees with them to distort history, to distort the present, and lead you, the sheep, to your own slaughter. So wake up, my friends. God bless you. And don't give in to the herd mentality. It's not cool. It's not woke. It's the complete opposite. And judging by 2020 from the shutdowns to these situations, there's no low that these people will not go. So let us raise the bar of truth, of justice, of love, of peace, of common sense, of logic, of wisdom, of freedom, and of real talk. No pandering, no political correctness, no lies. And may God protect us in doing so. God bless you.